Budget of Nigeria has always been 70% recurring, 30% capital historically, give or take a few percentage points. At no point has it been greater or lower than 70-30 from 1999. We are together here to solve Nigeria's problem. Attacking the past doesn't solve the problem. But let me raise a fundamental issue. Let's take the issue of petrol. All successive governments have made the wrong argument about deregulation. The argument has been wrong. Let me give you a simple example. When I worked with President Obasanjo, every time he deregulated or raised the price of petrol, transporters raised it disproportionately to the cost of what everybody's talking. I wish I was Senate President, I'd beat somebody right now. Now, pay attention. I want everybody to pay attention. I rarely speak.
Address the chair.
If you look at what has happened historically, President Obasanjo raised the price of petrol. Transporters doubled transport fare. Yet, the price of petrol to run in a bus is no more than 10% of the cost of running the bus. But transporters doubled or tripled the fares and the poor man suffered. The purpose which President Obasanjo deregulated at the time was to find a balance, because a regulated system only serves the rich and not the poor. Because only in Lagos, Abuja, maybe Port Harcourt do you find petrol at the correct price anyway. Everybody pays a higher price. That is a fact of life. Now, the argument government has always made about deregulation has been the wrong argument. The argument you make is, what is the price of a liter of petrol? That is the wrong argument. The real argument government should make is, what is the cost of transportation? If you lived in a kitty and you are going to work and you spend, Dino, put your hands down, and you spend 100 naira to go to work, and you deregulate, and you still spend 100 naira to go to work because you have a mass transit policy, and you subsidize the transporter, nobody will protest on the streets. I have done the calculations. I have the figures for every state in the country. Lagos will consume over 30% of a subsidized mass transit policy in Nigeria. A mass transit policy in Nigeria will cost no more than 100 billion naira annually, with Lagos taking over 30% of that. If President Buhari was to deregulate today, and he has a mass transit policy, and transporters were paid the difference, which is no more than 10% of what we spend today importing petrol, nobody will be on the streets arguing. And let us remember, diesel has already been deregulated. So goods and services, the prices will not increase. The only prices that will increase is intercity transportation. So if you go from Obalende to Ikeja and you spend 200 naira, and you keep spending 200 naira after you deregulate, nobody will protest on the streets. So let us get the argument right. The argument has been wrong. South Africa subsidizes. I mean, they have a mass transit policy and they subsidize mass transport. America has the same. Britain has the same. Germany has the same. Major development countries have that policy. And nobody goes on the street. Ask anybody in London, what is the price of a liter of petrol? Nobody knows. Ask anybody in South Africa, what is the price of a liter of petrol? Nobody knows. But in Nigeria, everybody knows the price of a liter of petrol, because we have made the wrong argument. We must now make the right argument and support the masses of this country. If we save half a trillion or 1 trillion naira, and that goes towards capital development, we will truly develop this nation. 2, we must not, put your hands down, we must now focus. We must now focus on the Oronsaye report. When we talk about the civil service, a man earning 18,000 naira a day, he is not overpaid. He is paid slave wages. That is the fact of life. The cost of running government is not the poor man who earns 18,000 naira a day. And the directors, the PAMSEC, and the most powerful people in the country who earn all that money have all these kind of allowances. If you follow the Oronsaye report, and we can contract government at the top, we would save a fortune. 3, if the federal government continues to collect a disproportionate amount of the budget to run a federal government and not give the money to the state, we will not solve this problem. Most of the development takes place at the state level. The federal government collects over 50%. Why don't we shrink that to 25-30% and let the states have more money to develop the economy? They are closer to the grassroots. And more important, If you want to develop housing, for the Minister of Housing, any minister, please, I'm not taking shots at anybody. For the Minister of Housing to come up and say, I will develop 50,000 houses, is counterproductive. The Minister of Housing should come up and say, I will develop 5 million houses and do government by government program with new technology and develop 5 million houses. The way we grow and develop does not help anyone. You have a big problem and we are solving it in a Mickey Mouse way. We must take a position and develop this economy. If we want to borrow 50 trillion, then borrow 50 trillion and industrialize Nigeria overnight. Borrowing 2 trillion, 1 trillion, half a trillion, it doesn't solve this problem. Nigeria has the capacity to grow. We have the resilience to grow. Nigerians are the most hardworking, industrious people in the whole of Africa. Yet, we grow in leaps and bounds. We do not make the progress that will help this economy. I take the principal position that this budget is the right step in the right direction. And let me say this, I have never met an economist, I have never met an accountant, I have never met anyone who can adequately predict the price of oil tomorrow morning. So a budget of $38 a barrel is fine for now. It is irrelevant anyway, because I'm told it will get to $20 a barrel. Some say 50. It doesn't matter. Let us adjust it as we go along. So the Minister of Finance has done a great job with what they presented. She's brilliant, she's wonderful. Udo Doma is first class also. So I'm not here to criticize anyone. But what I'm saying is this. We must review the budget every 3 months and adjust it to reality. For me, Dino, it is very important. It is very important that we go into the market and we borrow 50 trillion and industrialize Nigeria. We cannot grow at this pace. And let me say this, it doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter what party they come from. What is important is Nigeria develops, we become a great nation, and we are totally industrialized. Thank you very much.